My name is Max. I deliver pizzas. It's boring. Tonight, it's scary. The clock ticked past 9 p.m. My stomach growled louder than the old engine in my car. Another delivery, another tip, hopefully enough for a burger. The radio crackled with static, mirroring the unease creeping up my spine. The air outside was thick with humidity and the threat of a storm. I hated nights like this. The phone buzzed, startling me. It was late, and I wasn't expecting any calls. My heart raced as I reached for the phone. It was Tony, the guy at the pizza place. His voice was gruff as usual, but there was an urgency in his tone that I hadn't heard before. Delivery, Edgewood Drive, big tipper. He emphasized the last part, making sure I understood the importance of this delivery. Edgewood Drive? I knew every street in this town, and there was no Edgewood Drive. I double-checked my mental map, but it didn't exist. You sure, Tony? Don't question me, kid. Just deliver the pizza. His voice was stern, leaving no room for argument. Click. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, feeling a mix of confusion and apprehension. A shiver ran down my spine as I punched the address into my GPS. The screen flickered for a moment before displaying the route. Rerouting, the robotic voice echoed my unease. The path it showed was unfamiliar, winding through parts of town I rarely visited. I was on edge, but a big tip is a big tip, right? I tried to convince myself as I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white. The night seemed darker than usual, and every shadow felt like it was watching me. The GPS led me further and further away from town. Familiar streets gave way to dark, winding roads. The trees on either side seemed to reach towards my car, their branches like skeletal fingers. The radio went silent, just static. I tried to turn it off, but it just kept going, like it was stuck. Each mile felt like 10. A sign flashed by, Edgewood Drive. Finally, or so I thought. Section 4. A glimmer in the dark. The street was pitch black, no streetlights. The darkness seemed to swallow everything, making it hard to see even a few feet ahead. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. The houses, hidden behind overgrown trees, were barely visible. Except for one. The dense foliage seemed to guard the secrets of the night, casting long shadows that danced in the faint moonlight. At the end of the street, a solitary house blazed with light. It stood out like a beacon, almost too bright for the surrounding darkness. The contrast was jarring, making the house seem almost surreal. It was a mansion, old and imposing, with a wraparound porch and a rocking chair swaying gently in the non-existent breeze. The house had an air of forgotten grandeur, as if it had once been a place of great importance. But the most unsettling thing was the front door. It was wide open. The darkness inside seemed to beckon, a silent invitation that sent chills down my spine. My heart pounded in my chest. The fear was palpable, a physical presence that made it hard to breathe. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, to leave this place behind. I pulled up to the curb, the headlights illuminating the overgrown lawn. The grass was wild and untamed, adding to the sense of abandonment and neglect. Deliver the pizza, get the tip, get out. That was the plan. But standing there, with the open door and the eerie silence, the plan seemed suddenly fraught with danger. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever lay ahead. The night was far from over, and the glimmer in the dark promised more than just a simple delivery. Section 5. A run for my life. I grabbed the pizza and walked towards the house, each step heavier than the last. The night was unnervingly quiet, the kind of silence that makes you hyper-aware of every sound you make. My footsteps echoed in the stillness, amplifying my growing sense of dread. The air grew colder, the smell of damp earth filling my nostrils. A thick fog began to roll in, shrouding the trees and making the path ahead even more ominous. The wet ground squelched under my feet, each step feeling like it was pulling me deeper into a nightmare. The rocking chair creaked rhythmically, back and forth, back and forth. It was as if it had a life of its own, moving to some unseen force. The sound was almost hypnotic, drawing me closer despite my better judgment. But there was no one there. The porch was deserted, yet the chair continued its eerie dance. I felt a chill run down my spine, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. As I reached the porch, I heard it, a low growl coming from within the house. It was a guttural, menacing sound that seemed to vibrate through the very walls. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing the growl. It sent chills down my spine. My breath caught in my throat, and I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. The growl grew louder, more insistent, as if whatever was inside knew I was there. I wanted to run, to get back in my car and drive away as fast as I could. My instinct screamed at me to flee, to put as much distance between myself and that house as possible. Dropping the pizza, I turned and ran. My legs felt like lead, but adrenaline pushed me forward. The pizza box hit the ground with a thud, its contents scattering across the wet earth. I didn't dare look back. The fear of what might be behind me was too great. My only thought was to get away, to escape whatever horror lurked in that house. I fumbled for my keys, my hands shaking. Each second felt like an eternity as I struggled to unlock my car. The growl echoed in my ears, a haunting reminder of the terror I had just escaped. Section 6. Where did it go? I slammed the car into gear and sped away. My heart pounded in my ears. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The house was gone. The street was gone. I was surrounded by dense fog. Where was I, and how did I get here? A cold dread washed over me. I was lost, truly lost. The radio crackled back to life. A voice whispered through the static. "You shouldn't have come here."